Hi, my name's Leon Flitton, and I'm the owner of Your Podcast Concierge. And I'm about to be on the online prosperity show with Prosper. And I'm really looking forward to having a chat with him. We're going to chat about how I got started in podcasting. It's a funny story. Where I got married, funnily enough, and why you need to have the know, like, and trust factor, and what podcasting can do for you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we've got a guest who is a maestro of microphones. I think the Sultan of sound and the wizard behind many of your favorite podcasts. Now, Leon, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Prosper.
Absolutely. Like I was telling you earlier on, I'm a little bit nervous about this show today. I mean, you're the expert when it comes to podcasting, and I really feel like right now you're scrutinizing every particular minute of how we're going and how many ums and and everything else that comes along with, creating this podcast as we go along. So hopefully it's not going to be like that, but I'm really excited to have you on the show today. And for those that are watching right now, you might be wondering, why am I blabbering all about Leon? Well, he's got over 25 years of experience in operations and leadership. And from that, Leon transitioned from the retail world to become a podcast producer and strategist. And he's helping speakers, coaches, and business owners craft compelling podcasts to attract their clients. But today he's going to be diving into his journey so we can uncover the secrets behind his success and maybe get a few tips or two on how to not trip on our words. Now, Leon, I've already started fumbling about, and you're probably thinking, when is this podcast actually going to start? Tell us a little bit about your story and how you actually got into podcasting.
Yeah, look, I just want to say quickly first, I think I'm the one that's being scrutinized because normally I'm the guy that's not on the camera. I'm the guy in the background. So I'm feeling very scrutinized right now as well. And I'm probably going to say a lot of times. So, let's get started. Well, I actually got into podcasting kind of by accident. So my wife is a podcaster, at the time, girlfriend, but wife now. And I accidentally started a podcast business. That was probably what happened. So I'd actually started editing and producing her podcast and went, this takes so much time off people. And I went, people don't like, so if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, you didn't have time for this. You didn't have time for like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours a week to be, editing and making social media and all that kind of thing. So, and from there, it just went on. So it accidentally, started a podcast. About business.
Absolutely. You know what I like about that, Leon? First of all, you make people start respecting the craft because, like you say, 11 or 8 hours just trying to put out a 30-minute episode is a lot of time and is a lot of effort. And shout out to my team that is making all of this happen. No, Leon, I mean, obviously some people would have been bothered, by, jumping onto creating or editing this podcast, but something must have fascinated you enough to want to take this on as a full-time gig.
Yeah, so there was a couple of things about podcasting, and I just want to mention as well, is that it's kind of like the last place you can have your voice where it's not, controlled by a big corporate or something like that, so you can say how you want to say it, and at the risk of saying something crazy on social media or and that kind of thing, but it's one of those things where it's the last kind of place where you can have your say, where you're not having to pay thousands of dollars to get your voice out there, or you're not controlled by anyone, and you own it and it's yours. So I think that's an important piece of podcasting to start with.
I like that.
So yeah.
You know what I like about that, Leon? I'm actually writing a book about, my transition from now going on 5 years without being on any Meta products. All right. So it so happened that, like you say, I didn't say the things that the algorithm liked at that moment, and I got kicked out, and I just didn't want to fight it anymore. And I took to the airwaves and I started a podcast where I was just ranting. For the first 6 episodes, I was just yelling at Mark Zuckerberg. But then I started healing in the process, and I was like, you know what? Why am I wasting this energy on this guy? I could have been working and creating for and relating to my audience. And yeah, that then, emanated in 300 episodes of a podcast that I've just sunsetted. Now I've got this one where I actually get to speak to experts like yourself. And I hear you. Nobody can stop us. You can say what you feel like, you can be who you want to be, and you can publish it and hit send, and the whole world can know your name. But why am I
Yeah,
not
well,
famous yet?
oh, can't be too far away. But that's it. It's keeping it real, right? Keeping it real, and that's what people want to hear, and they want to be hear like the authentic the conversation that they'll be having. Yeah, that's real. It's a real conversation from a real person. It's not manipulated,
Absolutely. But you spent nearly 30 years in retail. First of all, what were you selling?
I was actually in supermarkets, so food. So, I'm, the vegans don't like it, but I'm a butcher by trade, and yeah, and I work for one of the big Australian supermarket chains, and from all different aspects, from down at like store level all the way through to head office and all that kind of thing. Lots of leadership experience, and there's a lot you learnt from that, and there's a lot of good pieces that you can bring over into your own business as well. So probably the hardest thing though was going, well, you're the boss, you're the director, you're the CEO, and you have to make all those decisions. You have to set the KPIs, you have to set the budgets and all those kind of things. So you're 100% responsible for everything. So that was probably the bit. There's no one above you telling you, yeah, you got to aim for this or aim for that. So that was a tricky thing, but you get used to it pretty quick.
Absolutely. Well, that is some experience. I come from Africa where we are sort of a hunting tradition, and we've been hunting all these animals, or maybe having livestock that we keep for food, but we never seem to be able to find chops and, or in the right in the right color that you have them in the supermarket there. What actually goes on behind the scenes?
Well, I suppose when it comes to meat, I mean, and there's that question's always asked a lot, right? What do you do to it? And, back in the day, if you go back to like 20, 30 years, there was probably some really dodgy butcher shop stuff going on, like not just in supermarkets, but all over in butcher shops. There was some, yeah, I've heard some stories of additives that probably shouldn't be anywhere near your food and stuff like that. But these days, it's more about the cold chain, and well, just a different packaging. Packaging is like, it's changed so much in the last 30 years that I've been around in supermarkets, and it's pretty crazy the technology they use, and how much tracking is involved in keeping things at the right temperature, stuff like that. So to get it to you safely in the best shape possible. So.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, you're so used to being around blood and everything else, and but it's a kind of different blood, sweat, and tears that comes along with creating a podcast. What were some of the challenges that you faced? I mean, it's not an easy transition. You're speaking meat to being the meat and potatoes of your content distribution there. So,
Yeah, well, retail itself, it's kind of bricks and mortar, and then you go to this other medium, which is audio. Well, it's audio, video now, but audio, and you just kind of like, it's not substance, like it's not something you can touch. It's not kind of tangible in that way, so that can make it a bit kind of odd. So then all of a sudden you've got this, you've got audio waves, and it's kind of hosted somewhere, and it's very different, and you're working from home instead of going to the shop, and so that was very, very different. So sometimes you like spend hours or something, and you kind of look back at it and you go, but you can't see like the hours that we spent making that episode, or writing that copy, or so sometimes it can feel a bit odd and a bit untangible.
absolutely. Now, Leon, I was just thinking, you mentioned the shop. You must have had somewhat of an experience with the audio side, aisle three, clean up on aisle three. Is that maybe how your podcasting started because you were broadcasting to an audience?
Oh well, we had to do the back in the day. We used to close on Saturdays at lunchtime and earlier, and you'd have to do the markdowns to clear out all the stock. So you go, come on down to the meat department, grab a bargain, and we've got Scotch fillet for this price and rump steak for this price, and everything's marked down at 25% off. And so I suppose like the on air part of it probably was actually started back in the shop somewhere.
Absolutely. But obviously, I mean, you would have started as a bead to help your wife and obviously crafting this. Was she crying to you all the time and you're like, I've had it, I will do it, let me fix it for you? Because that's usually a response in a household that somebody is whinging all the time and you're like, you know what? Let's find a solution to this.
Yeah. So one of the things that really hit home to me was that, the hours it takes to actually produce one. And from my other leadership part of it, okay, so if you're spending 8 hours producing your podcast, what could you have been doing those 8 hours? Like what else could you have been doing? Because should you have been on sales calls? Should you be networking? Should you be doing something else? Could you be doing deliverables for your coaching program? Whatever it was. So those 8 hours could have been spent differently doing other, things in the business. And I suppose as business owners like yourself, where you know that there's certain tasks you can do really well and only you can kind of do them, and there's other tasks you can delegate out. And I think that's where it kind of all came together when that's not the best use of her time to be, sitting there editing podcasts. She should be doing the networking and that kind of stuff. So I think that's where that kind of kicked in and went, okay, I can help with this. So now I took it over. And then after that, it was, you start looking at things like, okay, well, how does the podcast topics, who are we speaking to, who are we interviewing, the solo episodes, like who are they speaking to? Is it the right niche we're targeting? All that kind of stuff. So and that's kind of started the whole strategy part of it.
Absolutely, because I mean, obviously, you can't just be speaking to an abyss or a dead audience. There has to be somewhat of a person on the receiving end, and that comes into the creation of the work. Did you have to learn all of this, or is it something that came naturally to you?
I think I probably learnt it and not so much natural. And I think it's probably something that, my wife actually, well, coached me a lot on. So that's my training came from there. So, she was really good at, you teaching me like of, how to find the right niche and is that talking to the right person? And even to things of, like when you think you've got a niche, but you need to narrow it down and speak to the one person. Like you always think, oh, that's narrow enough. No, it's not. You can go better. You can go more. You can just go right down to one person and speak to that one person. And I think that's something that she was really good at, making sure I learned well. So that was, but it came from her though. She really taught me how to, you know, really do podcast strategy well. So, and I'm really grateful for that.
Absolutely. But then obviously when you came into the field, you're like, there's not everything is not in the right place here. You evolved from just editing to offering podcast first content sort of creation. And that would have happened during the pandemic. Is that because they say meat was non-essential at that time, or?
Well, by that stage there, I decided that because I'd already got clients on by that stage. So I'd actually, left and I was actually like working, from home, and that was really good. Not being having to go out with all that other crazy stuff going on. I suppose there was a gap with, podcasting in the fact that it was time consuming. The other part of it was though with content creation, because if you look at now how it's evolved since like the pandemic, unprecedented times and all that kind of stuff. Look how it's evolved from then to now, where audio is still really good, but back then audio had great cut through. But things like if you did audiograms on social media, for example, they don't really work now. What really works now is video. So, and where you might have had, 3 or 4 touch points with your potential clients back then, you now need, like, I don't know how many it is now, but it's crazy. I think you need to consume something along the lines of 47 minutes worth of content, which is crazy. People are a bit more skeptical and I say untrustworthy, but they just want to get to know you better. So, that whole, know, like, and trust, you need to bring that in, and you just need to have more touch points. So the podcast then became around, filming the one piece, making the one episode, and then turning that into more content so that you could actually, keep connecting, with your audience and potential clients.
Absolutely. So in other words, that's like sharpening the knife to make sure you've got a good slice through, right? Because if you don't do all this prior work, you're not going to get the right chop or the right kind of piece, actually.
Yeah. So if you're putting the wrong episode content out and it's not aligning with your business and your marketing, you're kind of wasting your time. But if you can nail it and put the right content out and then, repurpose it, and then you get more know, like, and trust happening. And, things like if you get those people to consume your 47 plus minutes of content, you get that person on a sales call and they're hot, they're ready to buy. So and these are the things that the podcasting can really give you. So in your case, your clients, they get to hear Prosper's voice and they feel like they know you. They feel like they're my mate Prosper, and they already know you. So when they get a call, they're like, hey mate, what's happening, on the call. So, they're like, yeah, what can I buy from you?
And I'll be like, who are you? Because
yeah, and you don't know them, but they feel like they know you. So yeah, it's interesting because one of the best things about the audio part of the podcast is that, you think about, well, I mean, when people actually go to the office a lot more, they'll be on their way to the office listening to you in their headphones, just you, just your voice in their headphones, and listening to you, getting to know you and feeling like they really, really, like in one of your friends, your mates, they really know who you are. So that's the power of audio in that respect. So there's some really good things about, yes, video is awesome, but still audio is still very good for, building that connection.
absolutely. You see, when you put it that way, you know what I mean? The intimacy of it all, it just, first of all, it's very humbling because that person is probably driving maybe to a place where they make their money or they're with their loved ones or whatever it is, and they're stopping whatever they're doing in their world and paying attention to you. And you have to hold that with the utmost respect that that also gives you. But from the sound of how you speak now, you sound like you've had a lot of transformations in the way that, because it's a whole different genre of just dealing with customers and they know what to expect, and maybe you're not even talking to them, and just there's no way you can reinvent a meat cut. It's already been done. But
Chop's still a chop.
you're influencing people's minds, perceptions, the way they do stuff and who they're becoming and things of that nature. Have you also maybe undergone some sort of personal transformation since you got started with these, and has any of that sort of now started to influence the way you approach your work and your life?
Yeah, I think because, like you said before as well, like you're privileged to have someone listening to you on the way to work. They have your voice in, and you kind of feel like you owe it to them to make sure that you can make the best podcast with the best audio and the best content in it, so that it's you're giving the information, you're sharing information, or you're teaching them something, and you kind of feel like that you really need to make sure that what you're saying is on point. I know that I used to fluff a lot, which is, too many words. And my wife used to always tell me that I was just shorten it up a bit. So I was always, explain things, over and over again, but it was just fluff. So, the transformation for me was making sure that what I was, telling, my potential clients, was speaking directly to them, not what I thought that they wanted, but what they actually want. And the proof is in the pudding, I suppose, with podcasts, where you go, well, it's the episodes that are the most downloaded. You can see what they want, you can understand where they're coming from, and you go, well, if that's what they want, we need to give them more of that, if that's what they're going to listen to. So but I think one of the, you talk about transformations, the transformation was going from corporate, which is where people telling you what to do, follow the rules, and all of a sudden then you have to make up the rules and be the boss and make sure that if you're doing if you're helping someone with their podcast, you have making sure it's connecting with their clients and that kind of stuff. So but that corporate letting go of the corporate ways to have new thoughts and new ways of doing things and thinking outside the square of how to connect with people, it kind of makes you more creative, I suppose. So you go from being corporate where it's just this is the way it is, that's the rule, to being more of a creative and going, well, how else can we connect and what else can we give them, and how else can we make a link with that customer.
Absolutely. Now, Leon, I find it hard to believe that people used to tell you what to do in corporate. I mean, being a butcher, you would have probably been walking around with your tools of the trade with blood on there. And then if anybody wanted to say anything, you'd be like, oh, there's a cold room there. You will cease to exist. I'm not painting a picture here, but I mean, obviously, with what you're saying, it's absolutely amazing. Like I did mention earlier on, when I got kicked off Facebook, I went on and started a podcast. It's now a 300-piece, a podcast, which I leverage even up until now. So when somebody comes in and joins my email list, they're listening to episode number 1, and it starts them on that journey and all that information that they're getting to connect with me. I get people writing back to me saying, hey man, I really enjoyed your episode, and I'm looking at the episode and it was done 3 years ago, and I'm like, oh, okay, is that how far you are?
So you were saying amazing stuff way back then. That's awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just the power of it, because it's recorded, and until they delete the internet, that piece of information is still going to be there to help people at whatever stage of their journey is. But let's put it across to you. What's been the most rewarding outcome of your journey so far, and how has it actually impacted your way of being?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me was that I get to help people, help business owners, entrepreneurs, actually build their business. So I feel like I'm kind of a little bit part of it by being able to help them, and I think that's for me one of the biggest things that gives you the most joy. Being able to help someone, make their life easier, help them create their content, help them grow their business. And that when the business grows, that their family life gets better, then their lifestyle gets better. And I think that's, something that I really like. I really, really like, that kind of lights me up a bit. And I think from dealing with a lot of these entrepreneurs and business owners, they think a lot differently to corporate. And I think what they do is look after themselves a lot better. They understand you need space to contemplate, you need space for family, you need time for yourself, all those kind of things. I think that's, and I think they respect their bodies and health a lot more as well. Whereas I think, the corporate world seems to be just trashing yourself. You just need to burn yourself out. And most people have burnout. It's because they got burnt out in the corporate world. It's not from entrepreneurship. So, well, if you're doing it properly anyways. So I know you got to hustle sometimes, but I really think that, the things that I've learned from them while helping them grow their business and what I've seen is it's changed the way I think a bit as well.
Absolutely. Now, Leon, what would burn you out if what we're doing right now is work? I'm working right now. I don't know about you, but I'm at work right now. And we're laughing, we're joking, and we're creating memories and things of that nature. What's there not to like?
Well, that's it. I think it's almost a bit crazy sometimes. I get to do this for a living, and it's just fun. I'm having a chat with Prosper. How good's that? And this is, this is the fun part too. It's not like we're editing it, but this is the fun part, and that's why, one of the things that was what I say, to some of the hosts is just go do the fun stuff. Just go and record it, have a good time, speak about these things, chat to your guests. That's the fun stuff, and we'll do the hard stuff for you. So, you look at this and you think, oh, great, having a chat. That's our job, kind of thing. So it's awesome. I love it.
Absolutely. But I gotta ask, I mean, obviously your career in this podcasting space, started while you were working closely to your wife? I think by now we've earned the right to know her name, right? I mean, we can't keep addressing her as your wife. What's your wife? What?
Samantha Riley.
Samantha Riley. Samantha Riley was one of the first people I actually interviewed.
Oh, there you go.
What
You
a
have to
small
link it.
world.
You have to link that in the show notes.
Had I known that from the very first time, what a small world. Okay, that's besides the point. But obviously, working close to your wife, yeah, I mean, which a lot of couples find very, very challenging. How did you make it work? And what sort of advice do you have for others that are considering maybe a similar path?
I think one of the biggest things is being open and honest about, things that bother you or upset you, because everyone has a different style in business, and if it's gonna like really clash and get upset, you need to work that stuff out and work our way around it. So probably being open, honest about what bothers you, what's upsetting you, and I think in my point of view is what I've done is gone right. Well, how can I help her to do the best in business that she can do, and she's the same back to me as well. So I think I come from a place of love, I suppose. So with helping each other rather than it's not working for each other, it's helping each other. So I think that's probably the best way of doing it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, knowing the kind of woman Samantha is and how motivated she actually is in the way she carries herself, you wouldn't have gone any far. I don't see any further you could have gone because she's got a global business and she was going to definitely need somebody to carry her through. And congratulations, you happen to be the right person at the right time with the right mindset. Somebody else would have been like, nah, I'll go at it and do something else. Now, this was a major career change. Obviously, something you never thought was going to happen for you and things of that nature. What would you want to say to Samantha right now, knowing what she has done for you and your family? I mean, you can just keep it PG.
Well, I will say thank you for a start. And I think the biggest thing she did was show me that there's always another way. There's always a different outlook to things. So I actually, you know, before we met, I had this feeling like there was more to life than this. There was more to like just working a job. I'm like, this doesn't seem like this should be it. And there's like, I'm sure I can help other people. Like, I'm sure I can do something different. And I had a bit of an inkling in my mind that I wanted to have an online business. Didn't quite know why. I just thought it sounded cool. And I think it just all kind of fell into place. But sometimes it was about asking the right question, and she asked some really good questions, and I think she really got through my head with like going, well, someone goes, well, you can't do it that way. And you go, well, why can't you do that? Like what's stopping you? Why can't you do that? Like just because someone said you can't, that doesn't mean you can't. Like so, and I think just asking the right questions, or we want to do this, well, then what's the question we need to ask to make it happen? So. Yeah, I think just she's
Absolutely.
awesome, and she just showed me a different way. There's more out there.
Absolutely. Talk about different. Let me see if I got this correct. It was you guys that got married on a glacier, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yep. Yeah, in Alaska. So she must really love me because she hates the cold. She was on the glacier in Alaska. So yeah,
Absolutely. Congratulations. I remember seeing those
thank
photos
you.
and I was like, wow, I'm in the wrong business.
So there's one of the photos where we're standing on the edge of the crevasse kind of
Yeah.
part, and I was trying to smile, but I was having a freak out because my foot was starting to slide towards the crevasse, and it was about like 20 foot deep.
Absolutely.
But
And
I'm still here, so I'm all good.
Absolutely. Fantastic. And I remember there was a chopper involved and things of that
Oh yeah,
nature. That
yeah,
was just, yeah, wow. Well
yeah.
done,
It
my
was a whole
man.
lot of fun.
Absolutely. I mean, what's the relevance with the glacier? Is that your years of experience in a cool room?
Well, I'm used to being cold, from my previous career, but um, It just sounded like fun, actually. It was just like, let's do something different. What's unusual, and that was kind of one of the most unusual things we could think of. So, and it was a whole lot of fun as well. So, not any relevance, just fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for, I mean, obviously sharing your story and journey with us. Now, Leon, what would be the best way that people can get a hold of you so that they can start their own podcasting journey?
Yeah. So you can go to yourpodcastconcierge.com. And there's a link there. You can get in touch with me, and that's probably the easiest way of doing it.
Absolutely. I think, with what you've shared with us and things of that nature, I'll be putting all those links in the show notes so that people can actually get started and experience this unique world that Leon has found himself with, even though he started off with cold feet, but it seems like he's finally gotten his full stride. Now, like you said, Leon, this is something that you never thought you would be able to ever do. If you would look back to the time when you were in the, you know, butcher shop or stuff. I know you were in a higher office, but I'm
Oh yeah,
just
yeah,
seeing I'm just seeing
yeah.
the butcher
The
apron,
apron, the
the
knives.
blue and the butcher paper
Yeah.
and just cutting meat and just going, you go and do whatever you do with these slices. Now, if somebody would just come in and say, "Wow, Leon, I like the way you've got precision in cutting up those deli meats. You should be a podcaster." And what would you have said to them?
Uh, it's funny what you do for work, but what your passion may be is probably the thing. And I think, yeah, if you've got a passion for it, it's going to make it a whole lot easier to do it. So, but it is a scary jump though from going from corporate where it's perceived I have a safe job thing, that's perceived thing, to actually being in business and you know taking charge yourself.
Absolutely. Well, you shouldn't be scared, man. You were dealing with sharp objects. Now it's just blunt things, Fantastic. I am very excited that we've had this chat today, Leon. I mean, obviously, your life story and your experience and things you've done, the people you've met, and who you're becoming. It's just testament to if you follow your dreams and your passion, and if you've got the right support around you, you can be, do, and have whatever it is that you want in life. Now, looking ahead, I mean, obviously, this is only the beginning of something really incredible and exciting. What can we expect? What sort of plans or projects have you got for your podcast concierge? And where do you see maybe the future of podcasting heading?
Yeah, so future of podcasting, that's a great question. And it's, well, as long as AI deepfakes don't take over, there's still a big space for people's voice and showing up in person. So, like we're doing now. And, the no like and trust factor it's still huge, and it's now more than ever. So I think one of the best things you do is get your voice out there. Whether if you're not a podcast host, go out there and get guesting. Like deliver some value for people's audiences and get out there, get your voice heard. That's podcasting. It's still going to keep going, but I think you need to get out there and get into it. So whether it's guesting or hosting or both, go for it. Your podcast concierge is we've really moved into a space where it's about content creation, about being prolific, so you can show up everywhere. And we used to be just audio, but it's now audio and video because video is just taking off. It's crazy how huge it is. And if you're just doing social media, you have to have video going out. You have to have it, just the way it's evolved. It's the way it is. It's where our algorithm works. It's just the way it is now. So, but same with video. You can still capture people's attention. You can still make sure you have that hook, grab shot on the front of it, all that kind of stuff. You can still if you're smart about it, you can do a really good job at it, and it can make it quite easy. So that's why we do the podcast. First content creation. So I think it's going to be more about to come. there's more video, more podcasting, more
Absolutely.
content.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Leon, for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today. I mean, it's quite a it's been a pleasure, and just the surprise Easter egg that you threw in there, how you're connected with people that I already know within the industry. It just is proof positive that podcasting takes you places you never thought you would get to, and meet people you never thought you would actually have an opportunity to experience. Now, I've seen the person that I was secretly being envious of, on that glacier, and I'm like, look at them. I'm sitting in a concrete jungle. But thank you so much for having done those things, have that experience, and had a good story to tell on the Online Prosperity Show today.
Well, thanks for having me on, Prosper, and I'm really glad I got to chat to you again, and it's been great. Thank you.
Absolutely. For those that are watching, if you think starting your podcast is going to be like watching paint dry, of course you're right. But if you have the right help and the right people alongside you, you definitely will be able to create for and relate to your audience. So be sure to check out Your Podcast Concierge, and Leon and his team are ready to help take your podcast to the next level. I hope they won't be taking it to Alaska, but as you have seen, it's about how you show up to your audience, and the more people get to know, like, and trust you, the more people will be able to do business with you. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed today's discussion, just give us a thumbs up, or maybe share it with somebody who is umming and ahhing or sitting on the fence about starting their own podcast. Until next time, keep prospering and connecting with your audiences out there. Bye for now.